You've probably heard of ICP, Ideal Customer Profile, right? But there's one big mistake that I keep seeing companies make over and over again when it comes to defining theirs. So I'm going to show you how to avoid that right now. Here's my picture of an ICP. And keep in mind that all ICPs are experiencing some type of pain. In other words, they have a problem that they're trying to find a solution for. Otherwise, they want to come to you for your product and service. And ultimately, they're trying to arrive over here in this promised land. Now, this is my pathetic attempt of drawing a palm tree. All right? And we have a little basket of gold, and we have a nice lounge chair where he or she can chill. But along the way, along this path to getting to the dream outcome, guess what? There are obstacles that block their progression. For example, probability of success. There's the speed at which they get to this outcome. There's effort, there's friction, etc. These things block your ICP from getting here. So it's your job to create an offer that will help them to eliminate or minimize this barrier so they can get to their dream outcome. So that's ultimately how sales and marketing works. So I'm just keeping things really simple and high level. Now, a lot of companies understand this intuitively. This may include you as well. But when it comes to defining your ICP, this is where everything starts to break down. We want to define the pain, right, that the ICP is experiencing. And you want to be very clear on what this pain is. Because think about it. Some businesses, they sell vitamins and others sell pain pills. Now, at least for me, and I'm sure you feel the same way, I want to be in the business of selling pain pills. In other words, if somebody goes on vacation and they forgot their pain meds, when they arrive, they're like, oh my gosh, we have to go to a pharmacy or we have to go to a dark back alley. And no, I'm just kidding. But they have to go to a pharmacy and they have to get their meds because they're in pain. Now, if somebody went on vacation, like, dang it, I forgot my creatine. I forgot my vitamin C or vitamin D, whatever it is. They're like, all right, we're on vacation. I'll just catch up when I get back home. So you want to have the pain pill. In other words, you want the customer to strap on their big old boots, their big old coat in the middle of a winter storm to go get your product. I'm using metaphors here, obviously. But if the pain isn't clear, then your customers probably aren't going to buy. And if you're having troubles attracting leads and then converting them with your offer, it's probably because the pain has not been demonstrated or hasn't been brought to light when it comes to identifying your ICP and what they're actually going through. So you want to get crystal clear on this. Now, to give you some contrast, I'm going to show you where most people go when it comes to identifying their ICP, what things they're looking at, and then I'm going to stop you and I'm going to come back and show you how to avoid that mistake, okay? So most companies will define their pain, they'll define the customer's circumstances, they may define things like triggers, what triggers the customers to buy. There could be some macro trends, and they get into all these other elements, which are good. Okay, but this is where the mistake happens. When you go directly from pain into these other categories and you start answering questions or you start defining what this looks like, you miss a really critical step. And this is where our framework is different. When it comes to pain, the next question you have to ask is, how severe is that pain? Even before you get into this stuff over here. We have 3 different archetypes at Coltivar that we use when creating ICPs. So I'm going to walk you through them one by one. The first archetype is based on the ICP having a burning problem, okay? So remember, what is the pain and then how severe is the pain? And the first archetype is burning problem. This is where we're at. So think about it like this. If I'm a plumbing company and I'm targeting this ICP, they may have a burning problem. In other words, their pipe just busted and their basement is flooding, or their water heater just went out and they have no more hot water. That is a burning problem that the ICP needs to solve right now. And guess what? Based on this burning problem, you're going to answer these things and you're going to define your ICP completely different compared to the second archetype. We call it stuck reality. Compared to the burning problem is like, I got something urgent. If I don't solve it right now, there's going to be some serious consequences. Stuck reality, on the other hand, is an ICP with a problem, with pain, but they just treat it as the status quo. In other words, they may think to themselves, this is just the way things have always been. This is just life. I'm just stuck here and I'll just deal with it. So they're just stuck in this reality because they don't know any different. So as you can see, there's a major difference between somebody with a burning problem versus stuck reality. Think about it like this. Maybe a business has been using the same CPA, the same accounting processes for years. And they're just like, that's just the way it is. That's the way accounting goes. That's how it is working with a CPA. They're just stuck in this reality. But maybe there's a better reality. Maybe there's automation. Maybe there's a different way to work with a CPA, or maybe there's a different way to do your accounting altogether. So that's stuck reality. The third archetype right here is unseen possibility. And this is for an ICP who's in pain. The pain isn't that severe because they don't even know that a solution or a better way of life exists. So think about AI agents. Some people may be thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't even know this existed before. I didn't even know AI agents could do this. So you can start seeing here, as you dissect things at the top. In other words, when you define the pain and then you ask, how severe is that pain? And you choose which path best fits your ICP based on your business model, everything changes. Because like I said before, how you answer these questions and others are going to be highly determined based on which archetype fits your ICP. And that's the number one mistake that we keep seeing in businesses over and over again, is they just go from pain down to these things, and then they don't even consider this. And without this, guess what? All your content is going to be speaking to the wrong ICP. It's not going to be crystal clear. It's not going to be a unique message to your customers, and therefore it may not be relevant to them, right? Maybe it's a really good product that you have to offer. It may just not be relevant, or the customer doesn't understand your unique selling proposition. All right, so that's what I wanted to cover today. And there are more videos on this channel just like this that will help you to execute your strategy to build a very successful and profitable business. All right, until next time, cheers.